Ideas get stuck, diluted, or killed as they move through an organization. We've all seen that. And we all have a different definition of innovation and creativity. So we decided to create one, not necessarily the best one, but just one. When you're trying to change a culture, you need one definition. Ours was the habit of continually doing things in new ways to make a positive difference to our working lives. What one word in that definition stands out for you? Habit. It's about making it a habit, isn't it? We tend to leave it on the dusty shelf until our boss asks us to think differently. The science of your brain says if you fold and unfold your arms the wrong way 30 times in succession, 3 days in a row, you will rewire your brain to fold your arms the other way. That's not the important part. The important part is how it felt. It felt awkward. Innovation feels awkward. And then we go to school and we get a job and we're taught there's only one right answer. So we stop looking for the second one. Innovation comes from pushing for the second right answer. Children have got it right. If you ask somebody, why do you go to a Disney theme park? They'll tell you, I go for the rides. Well, that tells me, in my data and my research, to spend millions of dollars on capital investment on a new attraction. But if I behave childlike, not childish, and just pause for a second and say, why do you go for the rides? Well, I remember Small World. Well, why do you remember Small World? I used to go with my mum. Why is that important to you exactly? I take my daughter now. What that person has just told you on the 4th or 5th why is the real insight. They didn't want a new attraction. What's driving their visit is memory and nostalgia. That's a communication campaign, not a capital investment strategy. But if you stop at the first why, as most of us do as adults, you'd never get to the real insight for innovation. The challenge for most of us is our own experience and our own expertise. I call it your river of thinking. My river of thinking after 20 years in Disney and public relations was very fast, very wide, and very deep. It's like the Amazon. Allows you to make very informed and quick decisions. And for 95% of your jobs, that's worked extremely well. But now that you're being asked to get out of that river of thinking more and more often, it's really hard to get out of our river of thinking, because we know this part really well. So when I was asked to get out of public relations and join innovation creativity, I was like, I don't want to do that. So I'm going to show you a couple of tools to help you get out of your river of thinking and think differently. It's a very simple tool to use. You list the rules as you've got so many sacred rules. Who has a weekly meeting? Why do you have a weekly meeting? Because you've always had a weekly meeting. Right? Challenge the rules. The naive expert is not there to solve your challenge for you, as I mentioned earlier. They are there to ask the audacious question or throw out the silly idea to help you get out of your river of thinking and think differently. I suspect you are like many other large corporations. Diversity is nonsense inside most organizations, and they don't pay enough attention to it. They think they've got to hit their percentages because otherwise somebody might sue them, and it really pisses me off. What they forget is diversity is innovation. If somebody doesn't look like you, they don't think like you. And if they don't think like you, they will help you think differently. And it's time companies woke up to the fact, because you've got enormous power within diversity in your organization. Big data will get faster and faster and more intuitive. But here's the good news. For at least the next decade, I'm not going to predict past the next decade because nobody can. Here are the 4 things you can't program into artificial intelligence. You can't program creativity. You could program the robot to paint the Mona Lisa, but she wouldn't know what to paint unless you programmed it. You can't program imagination, you can't program intuition, and you can't program curiosity. So the 4 things we have suppressed since leaving school because we've been told they're not important, I believe will be the most employable skill sets of the next decade, simply because they can't be programmed. I encourage you to be brave, and thank you very much indeed.